Marisol Garcia. I'm a proud 8th grade social studies teacher, and I'm the current president of the Arizona Education Association. We are the largest public labor union in the state of Arizona. Very proud labor union in Arizona. We're down here on spring break. Most of these folks would much rather be running errands, spending time with their family, or doing what lots of us do on vacations, and that is not working and in taking some time to rest. But we're down here because we believe that we need to really push this legislature to have some bold conversations on what is happening in public education. We understand on a federal level that we are being attacked in ways that are very difficult for us to prevent. And we know that there's going to be a long, long fight ahead of us at a federal level. But those of us in Arizona have been through this fight for 20 years. The privatization of our schools, the insistence of having more and more and more legislation piled upon us so that very few of us have any time for our own families, for our own self-care, anything at all. You could drive by any school at 6 a.m. and you will see the car lot filling up hours before your students, your children are dropped off. And when you take them home hours and hours after, many of us are staying there after school to ensure that every student in Arizona has a great public school. Woo! This is not a new story. However, we believe that we have to push this legislature to make some bold decisions when it comes to two things. One, an investment in our public schools. Yeah. We know that our greatest asset in this state are our children, and they're all our children. All our children. Our students may come to me, my students may come to me for 8th grade social studies, but they will be working in different places throughout the state. They will be a driving force of this economy, and more importantly, they may be your neighbor in 10 years. And don't you want those kids to be able to make a great living and provide for their families? Purchase a car, go on a vacation? Right now, the focus has been to underfund our schools, to defund our schools, and to set aside $1 billion to private school vouchers. We have learned the lesson. This is not working. The system is going to break. And on top of that, the underfunding goes to the second part, which let's keep adding more and more things for educators to do. Unfunded mandates and the continuing of making sure that we have become the villains of this public education system, and two, that we continue to have to do the things that nobody else wants to deal with. Not a day goes by that the educators behind us don't have drawers full of snacks that they've purchased, that have drawers of Band-Aids that they've brought in or stopped at a store to buy, that are not staying after school to ensure that your student has the best learning opportunity that they have, works with students after school. All of us behind here have been exploited to our end. And this Jenga has been set up for people to understand it's not just an 8 to 4 job. Ever. Has it ever been? So we're here to share a couple stories and then also to spend the day talking to legislators to implore our stories to them. Because we are the workers. We are the ones with your students. You have to listen to us. One of the best ways that we can ensure that happens is by electing great public school educators to the legislature. So I get the honor of introducing a great member of the Tucson Education Association, a great high school educator from Tucson High, Representative Nancy Gutierrez.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome to your capital. I am Nancy Gutierrez. I'm the Assistant Minority Leader here in the House, and I represent District 18 in Tucson, and I am a very proud union member and public school teacher. Thank you. Thank you for being here and taking time away from your classrooms, your students, your families, and your spring breaks to stand up for what is right. I know the exhaustion of long days, the frustration of inadequate resources, but I also know the power of the voices when we stand together. And that's exactly why we are all here at this Capitol, to make our voices heard and to demand that our elected officials do what is right for Arizona students and teachers. Right now, Arizona's classrooms are overcrowded. Arizona's educators are feeling a lack of support, and too many of them are leaving the profession because they can't afford to stay. That's a message I share constantly with my colleagues on the House Education Committee. And that's also why we need to pass a clean Proposition 123 and bring it to the upcoming ballot. Proposition 123 is crucial and because it provides essential funding for our schools by responsibly utilizing money that is already set aside for education without raising taxes. You all know that public education is in crisis. Arizona has been a testing ground for Project 2025, and that began with the voucher scam, didn't it?
Yes.
Now we can't even get House Republicans to give HB 2213, my bill, sponsored by the only working teacher in this entire legislature, but that can't get a third read because it would allow reduced lunch to be free. It would feed our children. It would give them the opportunity to not be hungry while they are studying. Doesn't even get a third read. Shame is right. Just as in the days of Red for Ed. How many of you were here at Red for Ed? I was. I knew it. Just like in those days of Red for Ed, your presence here today is important. It is vital. Your legislators need to hear from you. They need to know when they vote on education funding, they are voting on the futures of real students, teachers, and real classrooms. So today, as you walk into those offices, share your stories. Tell them about the challenges you face. Tell them about the students who are losing their art teachers, music classes, myself as a PE teacher because of layoffs. Tell them why so many of your colleagues with the institutional knowledge have left the profession because of the disrespect, because they can't afford their health care, because they're just tired. We do not have a teacher shortage, y'all. We have a shortage of teachers who are willing to put up with this anymore. And then make sure they know what's at stake. Make it clear that supporting Prop 123 is the way to go, but it has to be clean. Tell them that you demand our reduced lunch students to eat for free. Remind them that education is not partisan, and let them know, and as well as thousands of educators across this state, that you will be watching how they all vote, and you will be voting in 2026. Fellow teachers, union brothers and sisters, we know what is at stake. We live it every single day, and we cannot afford to be silent. I'm so very grateful to each and every one of you. We are in this together. We are in this together. And we will not stop fighting until our schools are fully funded and teachers are respected for the professional educators that we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for fighting. Let's get to work.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is TJ Buckley, the president of the Scottsdale Education Association.
So I wanted to come here today to share the stories of my members. So I represent 1,400 certified educators in Scottsdale Unified School District. Of those 1,400, we hear a lot about teachers. I represent certified staff. That's not just teachers, that's counselors, that's nurses. That was until Friday, social workers. They are now classified employees, so we're still with AEA. But that's a change that happened unilaterally without us knowing. And that's what we're seeing here at the Capitol is a lot of representatives like to talk about what teachers or educators, certified staff members, and classified, all educators need. How about this? Can we talk to us? How about we talk to the educators, find out what we need? We are here on our spring break. We are here to have our voices heard on Prop 123. We hear, as I talk to representatives here at the Capitol, I hear, well, it's a big secret. We don't know what's going on. How about it not be a secret anymore? How about you talk to the people who it affects? We are here, and we want to hear from you, and we want you to hear from us. So I won't take any more time other than that. Teacher voice, we need our certified educators, all educators need to be involved when decisions affect our working conditions and our pay. Thank you.
next up is Rachel Edgebeen from Sunnyside Education Association. Woo-woo!
Rachel.
My name is Rachel Eggebeen. I am a proud member of Sunnyside Education Association in Tucson. I am a proud member of the Arizona Education Association and the National Education Association. I am a proud middle school careers and social studies teacher and a proud mom. This morning, several of my students, my children, who came with us for this lesson in democracy. We gave up one day of our spring break to learn how education is funded. However, my children should not have to do this. They should not have to come here and tell the state legislature to do their jobs. My high school student is currently enrolled in a career and technical education program in Sunnyside Unified School District. These programs open up doors to students for employment and career paths beyond high school. State of Arizona Legislature, do your job. Fund career and technical education programs. My elementary child has an IEP. Because of the services she receives, she is blossoming in her school right now. It should not be a luck, and it should not happen that the school district comes to a parent and says, we cannot provide services to your child that they need to learn because we cannot afford them. State of Arizona Legislature, do your job. Fund special education weights. My preschool child should not depend on luck and a parent working in the district to get a high-quality preschool education. Research shows that students who receive a preschool education have better outcomes. State of Arizona Legislature, do your job. Fund preschool education for every child in this state. As a proud careers teacher this year, I have opened doors to students on how their classes they are taking, math, ELA, AVID, connect to their future. My district, Sunnyside, promises every student to be college, career, and community ready. State of Arizona, we invite you today to do your job, partner with all of our districts so that every child in this state can be college, career, and community ready. Now, how can you fund this state of Arizona? Two things that are easy. Well, maybe not easy, but they're necessary. One, end vouchers. Public money, public schools. Let me say it again. Public money, public schools. Two, reform the tax system. No more tax cuts until public education is fully funded in this state. Two things. Easy. Do your job. Thank you.
Do your job. Do your job. Do your job. Do your job. Do your job.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. Last thing is, I think what is really important is that over the last few years, we are bleeding educators from their positions. And we are the cornerstone of a lot of these students' lives. Their parents have very busy lives, and we're expected to do a lot for them. And that expands every year. The expectations of new ways of teaching, the expectations of new standards coming down, new curriculum coming in. And even more so, what I want everyone to understand is that it may seem like we just show up and give this amazing lesson that your students come home so joyful for, but there's a lot of planning that goes on behind that. Right? There's a lot of extreme amount of time away from our families that we are unpaid for. Anyone may think, well, I understand what I learned in second grade, so I can be a second grade teacher. That's the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg of what's happening. Those students are needed to be able to get to school, be fed before they're in school, be safe while they're in school, learn how to work with each other in school, be able to understand what is being provided to them, and we're expected to make sure that we diversify what we're teaching for every student, because every single one of them is unique. But every year this legislature, hundreds of bills are dropped and heard and pushed forward with little solutions attached to it, but blaming and politically trying to hold us more accountable. This Jenga kind of explains all of the things that we're expected to do beyond what is in front of your students, beyond what's in front of a lot of families. Just looking at some of them, a lot of our class sizes keep getting bigger. Class size is so big, having to build my own, pay for my own supplies, health insurance. Feeding our students to make sure that they are able to be present in school, making sure that students have their computers charged. No one thinks that doesn't happen. All of this is kids just are going to walk in with their computers funded. Funding, always in the back of my mind. Am I going to have a job next year? Every year is a question of whether or not teachers sign one-year contracts. We don't even know if we're going to have a job next year or what we're going to be paid next year. What else is going on? That we don't know if our pensions are going to be safe. Always having to fight. All of our unfunded mandates, having time for lunch. How many people are able to use the bathroom when they want to use the bathroom during the school day? Never. Okay? Oh, the increasing behaviors of what's happening in schools. What we need is a bold plan from the legislature. What you're going to get are educators who are not going to let this system fall. They're not going to let this system fall. We can only take so much. So over the next few months, you will see us increasingly more agitated, pushing back a little bit harder, because these are our schools, Arizona citizens. These are our schools. These are our students. These are our kids. And we're going to fight to make sure that public schools are protected moving forward. Thank you.
We'll do a quick round robin. I'll call your name, and then we'll come back to, we'll do a quick round, and we'll see where you are. And then we'll do one-on-ones. Start with Mary Jo.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
No, she's good.
Eleni.
Yeah, so I know that you want to push for something to happen with Prop 123.
Yeah.
We heard the Republicans' proposal, we heard a Democratic proposal, and we also heard Governor Hobbs' proposal. Which one are you guys hoping, I guess, passes, or what exactly are you looking for with Prop 123?
We want a proposal that has educators at the table as part of the solution. So we are open. We are really, really open to what it may actually look like. What we do not want are more and more expectations put on the educators in the classroom to ensure that the money we currently have. It worked 10 years ago. Why are we messing with it? So we want to be at the table, whichever of those folks, and we've worked with the governor's office. We've met with both Mesnard and with Representative Gress, but they don't want to listen to the folks that are actually doing the educating of the students to understand how it rolls out. So we'll sit at any table. Big, long tables, small, little tables.
Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, how do you ensure that the solution that goes forward is lobbied for by the Republicans and the Democrats and passes on the ballot, since it passed so narrowly last time?
Well, I mean, it's a different electorate than it was 10 years ago. There were a lot of concerns on what would happen to the funding mechanism if it was actually going to hurt the corpus, and it wasn't. We've seen this as an actual asset to this state. And so I think this is where all of us in this country are dealing with. How do we get to a table to come up with a solution that is not funded or funneled by politics and who's going to win the next election? It has to be a policy-driven conversation that leads to all of us winning. And that's hard. It's going to be hard.
Telemundo.
No.
Univision. Telemundo. Do you have a question? No. Univision. No. Easy family.
With the Department of Education under the Trump administration looking at dismantling the Department of Education and lawmakers dragging their feet, how does Arizona move forward?
Well, this is a disaster in the making. Cutting 50% of your workforce for vital services for students that have individual education plans, grants that are coming from the federal government. This is going to cripple not just my school, everyone's school. Everyone is going to be impacted by what's happening at the U.S. Department of Ed. Every single person in this state is going to be impacted by them, and then compound it with a state that has shown a history of not caring about public education. This is going to be a tough fight, but I think that the reason why we have hope, and I know it's difficult right now with so much chaos, is that we know that tomorrow or next week we're going to be showing up to school. The students are going to be there. I'm going to be expected to do my job, and we're going to do it. But there will be a tipping point for the exploiting of what we're expected to do under the circumstances. We're all going to have to fight through this together, and we're not going to let this system fall at all without us going down without a fight.
I have a similar question for Representative Gutierrez. If the U.S. Department of Education is abolished, how would that impact the federal dollars Arizona schools receive?
Well,
That's a great question. We just don't know. If we don't get that federal money, though, our state's bankrupt. We are what's known as a receiver state, meaning we take from the federal government much more than we give. And we are reliant on that. So if we don't have that funding, our state is bankrupt. And there is no way that our state budget can make up for those funds.
12. One more. Yeah.
What is, we've seen that this prop provided hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. What exactly does that money go toward for people who do not know Prop 1, 2, 3?
So Proposition 1, 2, 3 goes directly to school districts for the district to figure out where the highest needs are. In general, most of that money is going directly to salaries of educators, not administrators, going directly to the salaries of educators. And the reason why it worked, we believe that it worked so well, is that it was a bipartisan idea that brought together both us as unions, chambers, the charter industry. We all came together to say this is funding that does not raise taxes and goes directly to the school districts. It doesn't mandate directly where it is spent, but if you chase all the money and do all the history of it, it's going directly to salaries of educators. It's maybe one of the only reasons why we're able to sustain what we currently have. I would much rather imagine what we could have and imagine what we could have had if we actually had a higher level and we let the districts do what they do best, and that is respond to the people that live in their district. A lot of these things should not come from the state. They should always come from the local school district, the school board members that the local taxpayers elect.
Cameron.
Sorry.
You mentioned something about more agitation and maybe
Yeah,
even a
yeah,
tipping point.
yeah,
What
yeah.
other tools besides protesting are you going to utilize?
Yeah, we're going to start seeing walk-ins happen at schools across the state. You're going to start seeing a lot more organizing meetings happening away from the school site, so people coming together to figure out what their plan is. I think what's the most important thing about labor organizing is that it's not going to look the same everywhere else. It's not going to be on social media. It's not going to be just wear a color. It's going to be old school, meeting with people who have been hurt the same way you've been hurt and making a decision what tactic they're going to use. So walk-ins, you're going to start seeing them all over the state. You're going to start seeing folks maybe, having not just the meetings after school, but going to school board meetings en masse, showing up here en masse, just like every other organization or every other group, veterans, immigration rights folks, healthcare folks, the forestry folks that are all being impacted. We're all going to coalesce together at some point, and that's when people should be a little afraid.
Organized. All good?
Good.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you.